the supporters, I'm Savvy, and today I've got a highly requested video. This is a story time video that a lot of people have been wanting to hear because I've alluded to it here and there, made vague little references to, oh, one time this happened, and everyone's like, tell me more. When are you gonna tell me more? Today is when I'm gonna tell you more, so get ready, because today I'm gonna tell you guys the story of the time that I went to a multi-level marketing job interview by mistake. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel for the first time. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe because every Monday and Friday I put out new videos about my life as an author, as a small business owner, and as someone who is trying to help warn you against the awful scams that are out there that are going to take advantage of creative or entrepreneurially minded people. I am not here for it. If you don't know me, I'm Savvy. I'm the author and a small business owner running the company Forever Home Friends, which is a series of children's books, stuffed animals, and other toys, all based on the stories of real rescue dogs and their journeys to getting adopted. I am also the author of the young adult novels Beauty King and One Final Vinyl, and the new adult speculative LGBT novel Sculpt Yourself. Please take a look in the description below for all of those things. Right now, I have 2 books that I'm getting prepared for the releases of, and you guys can stay tuned for more updates on that. In September, on my birthday, I'm going to be releasing #SavvyBusinessOwner, which is my business self-help book that tells the story of all the details of how I got my own business up and running, including raising money to get it started, learning how to make a good sales pitch, finding events, finding customers, all of that, and how I did that, and offering my best advice. This is not going to be one of those books where it's like, do you want to make a ton of money? I'm so rich. I'm Grant Cardone. I'm Tony Robbins. I have millions and millions of dollars, and I'm going to tell you how to also have... I don't have millions of dollars. I'm going to tell you how to run a small business. Here's an awesome segue. You know what's not a small business? Multi-level marketing companies. So I did a video a couple months back called Finding Hidden Pyramid Schemes on Career Builder. Now, in that video, I will say I was using the term pyramid scheme in a purely colloquial sense because pyramid scheme is not what we can technically call an MLM company because pyramid schemes are legal, right? Pyramid schemes don't have a product. They just have you invest money into a pyramid and then you get some of the person below you. When they get their investment, you get some of their money, and it goes on and on and on forever, and you run out of people and no one actually ever makes their money back except for the select few at the top who were there since the beginning, right? That is a pyramid scheme, but an MLM company is dangerously close to becoming one because in a lot of cases, people sell a product to other people, but they also sell the idea of joining the company to other people, and then they get a cut of commission of people below them who join the company, and then those people are supposed to get other people to join the company. It goes on and on forever. So not technically a pyramid scheme, but I did do a video called Finding Hidden Pyramid Schemes on Career Builder. And when I did that, what I did was I went on Career Builder and I searched for marketing jobs, and I searched for advertising jobs, and I searched for keywords that some people who are running an MLM kind of on the down low might put into a job advertisement because they are like, oh, we're looking for people who are interested in marketing or interested in sales or interested in whatever, and they try to find ways to spin and advertise those jobs. Now, I mentioned in that video that the reason I cared so much was that I once used Career Builder to look for a job, and I misinterpreted the job posting myself and wasted all this time going to an interview for what turned out to be, I don't know if it would technically be classified as an MLM, but I think it would be based on what I've heard. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some things about the company that I went to an interview for. I'm going to be reading some fellow people who worked there in the past. I never worked there. I only went to the interview. I turned it down. But people who worked there in the past, looking at their testimonials on Glassdoor and what that was like, and then just kind of looking at their reviews on Yelp, looking at their reviews in a lot of different places. We are going to expose this company, which doesn't really need to be exposed because it doesn't exist anymore. Regardless, here we go. So I was a college senior getting ready to try to find a job in the real world, knowing that what I actually wanted to do was be a writer, but that you can't make much money off of that immediately. So I was going to have to start trying to build Forever Home Friends on the side and start trying to write books and put them out in the world on the side because I didn't have any following. I didn't have any audience yet. So I needed some kind of day job to get me through this cruel world of ours. So I went on Career Builder. I just kind of put my resume out there, and I got contacted by a company called Cooper Concepts. At first I was like, should I not expose the name? But I honestly don't think this company exists anymore based on their website, on their social media. There hasn't been anything since like 2016 on there. So I think, based on some other things I'll mention later, I think they actually rebranded and went under a different name to evade a lot of the scam alerts that they were getting. But let me tell you the story of this interview. My stupid ass was desperate for a job. So I was doing like 3 job interviews a week. So the week that I went to interview at this company, I also had an interview the day after that over Skype for a job that I actually really wanted. And I actually blew that interview. I did a terrible job at it. I did a great job on my cover letter, did a terrible job on my interview. I did not get that job. But in retrospect, it's okay, because 5 years later, I've read the Glassdoor reviews for people who have worked there, and turns out that company sucked too. It wasn't an MLM, it just had terrible management. Anyway, moving on. So it was a Tuesday morning. I was 22 years old and was about to graduate college in like a couple weeks, right? I was at that stage of my life. I had been notified the day before that this company, Cooper Concepts, wanted to bring me in for an interview. And I was like, cool. One thing that I was glad about was that it was located in Chicago. I know that that's like, there's tons of jobs in Chicago, yes, but there's also tons of jobs that list themselves on job boards as being in Chicago, but technically they're in a Chicago suburb, which normally, like, I don't mind. Call your suburb Chicago if you want. I don't give a fuck. But the problem is that I don't have a car. So if I can't get there on public transit, I don't want people listing it as Chicago just because I need to filter out places I can't reach on public transit. So from the beginning, I was like, okay, this place is in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood, which is a nice neighborhood. At the time, Tyler lived in that neighborhood. So I was like, oh, I could stop by and visit him on the way back from the interview. That's cool. So I was heading to that interview. I saw now I was kind of new to like professional level job interviewing. Obviously I had jobs over the course of college, but they were never like full-time jobs. They were always part-time jobs. So it's like I worked part-time in retail at the Joann Fabric and Craft store when I was a teenager. I worked part-time in like our college's alumni office. I worked part-time as a receptionist in an audiology clinic. I worked part-time my favorite job part-time in college was in our school's library archives, where we had kept all the historical artifacts from people who'd gone to the school over the past like 200 years. And throughout that, we would like organize historical artifacts and put up displays in the library displaying pieces of the school's history. That job was cool as hell. I loved that job. But it was time to find a job out in the real world, and I was totally new to this process. I didn't know whether people still wore suits to job interviews. I still don't know that. I don't go to job interviews anymore. Self-employment, bitches. I'm still wearing my workout shorts. So I was happy to see that this company seemed so receptive to me. I was happy to see that they seemed to be interested in hiring me. They seemed interested in my resume. Little did I know that's what they say to everyone. But I was also happy that I could reach them on public transit, though I learned pretty quickly that when they said Lincoln Park, they didn't mean like what most people think of as Lincoln Park, which you can get to on the Red Line and on the Brown Line. They had a place like in the middle of like Lincoln Park and the far west kind of industrial side where like you had to take the Metro train to get there. That was a hot mess. I didn't like that at all. That should have been flag number 1, but in my desperate for a job little brain, it wasn't. So I looked at the thing. It said, dress business professional. So I Googled what business professional meant, right? Because that, like, I didn't know what that meant. It meant wear a suit. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll wear a full suit to this interview. This seems odd. So I put on a full suit. I even straightened my hair, and you guys know what my hair used to look like if you've been on my channel since the beginning. This is nothing. Like, I think my quarantine hair is a lot right now. This is nothing in terms of how much hair I had. I had hair for days. So straightening that took forever. But, you know, I had people, this is a whole other discussion of how problematic this is, but I had people in my life telling me, well, you better straighten your hair if you go to a job interview because your hair is unprofessional looking. I'm like, this is just the way it grows. So what? My hair's not unprofessional looking, but it was like, so they were like, you better straighten that. So I did. So I straightened it. I'm actually kind of ashamed of that looking back, but whatever. So I got dressed in a suit. I got on the metro train to go to the interview, and when I got off the train, it ended up being this long ass walk down these weird like bridges. Like it was across like some Chicago, like in Chicago we have the Chicago River, we have a lot of bodies of water, so we have a lot of bridges. So it was down this bridge I had to go, and it was like boiling hot outside, and I'm in a full suit. It told me to wear heels, which I could go on about gender requirements. I never wear heels now because I have scoliosis and I've thrown my back out wearing heels to events where I had to wear them in the past, so it's like never again, my health comes first. But I was wearing heels stupidly because I thought that would help me get this job because it asked for it. So I walked down and I tried to find the place where this address was, and I kept looking at my phone, and this was 2015. I was still fairly new to having a smartphone because I guess smartphones had been around for a while then, but I had a non-smartphone. I had flip phone and then one of those phones that pops out this way for most of college. So I was on my phone, I have the map, and I was like, okay, it's supposed to be over here, but I don't see any buildings. I just see like some like wide open mechanic garage here. I see like some meat packing facility over here. Like, where the fuck is this supposed advertising firm you told me about? So I eventually was able to find this like tiny narrow little doorway like squeezed in between two buildings, which was supposedly the right address. So I walked in there and it was like, we're in suite 400, and I was like, ooh, suite 400. I bet this is in a big high-rise, right? I could already tell that my expectations were getting squashed, but I was like, whatever, bitch needs a job. There was an elevator there. The elevator didn't have an up button, and I was like, I'm on the bottom floor of this like nasty ass building, which looks like it was renovated in 1970, which is just like this tiny all-white room with an elevator. I have to get up to the 4th floor, and this elevator has no up button for me to press. How do I get on the elevator? Eventually, I think like someone came off the elevator and I just darted in. I was like, I don't even know what you're doing. So I was able to get up to the 4th floor eventually. When I got there was a receptionist who was super nice. Like when I entered, well, first of all, when I entered this room, it was still weird because it was like I got on the 4th floor and I passed by like a toilet. There was just like this like swinging open door bathroom with the toilet sitting there, and then there was like their conference room, and then just like a big bathroom with a toilet just sitting there, and then like their main room. I was so confused. I was like, what kind of setup is this? So anyway, I got up to the receptionist desk, and when I got there, the level of professionalism just shot up, right? It's like receptionist is sitting behind the desk looking like a supermodel with her face looking all made up and pretty, and she's in like this stylish skirt suit kind of thing with her hair looking nice and all like, hello, right? She's looking beautiful. There's all these professional people in their suits looking amazing, and I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Maybe they're just in the midst of renovation, or like they had to get a new location for something. Maybe this job is not that bad. Maybe this is actually going to be a good job. So I handed the receptionist my resume, which I don't know why I had to do, but this job specifically said, bring 2 printed copies of your resume. Why? I still don't know, because they found me through my resume uploaded on Career Builder, so they clearly already had my resume. I don't know why but I had to like get my ass to the school library, print out 2 copies of my resume. That was fucking annoying. So I gave them my resume, and then they said, okay, fill out this questionnaire while you wait. And I was like, questionnaire? Okay. So they gave me a clipboard with this questionnaire on it, and then it had the weirdest fucking questions. Like, the questions were like, well, they started off being like, what's your ultimate career goal? So I was like, that's fine, that at least relates. But then the next question was like, what was your favorite movie as a child? And I was like, what? And I was like, Back to the Future. So I just put that down, but I was like, I don't know why you're asking this. And then I thought, maybe they're asking this for some kind of company culture thing, which it turns out was true, because like I mentioned in that video about finding hidden pyramid schemes on Career Builder, there was a whole thing about if the advertisement for the company focuses more on company culture than on targeting a client, then you know it's a scam. That was this. And I didn't know that at the time. So their website, which I can't pull up now because it's gone. They don't exist anymore on the internet other than the reviews of them, which I'll still read to you guys. But their website doesn't exist anymore. But when it was up there, they had like, look at company culture. Look at all this cool stuff our company does together. So I was like, oh, this must be part of that company culture, which I didn't yet realize was like a scam indicator. So I was like, oh, company culture, cool. So then they call me back into the room for the interview, and it was this guy who was super friendly. And this is why now, like, it's like, you know, when people are really nice, I tend to be a trusting person. And it's because, I mentioned this in the past, I have OCD, and part of my OCD is that it's very unnatural and, like, almost triggering for me to ever lie. So I just grew up never lying, because whenever I lied, it, like, set off my OCD for some reason. So because lying just wasn't a part of how I interact, as a result, I don't know when other people are lying to me, because I never learned it myself. And because, like, I think to an extent, a lot of us just assume others are communicating with us the same way we'd communicate with them, because that's what's natural to us. So when people say things to me, I assume they're telling the truth by default, because lying is just not a thing I even think of. Recently, this is a side note, but recently I was talking to Tyler about something, and I was like, oh yeah, as a kid I could never get away with this because of whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, I just lied about it. And I was like, what? I literally never thought of that. So, like, the thought of lying about anything just literally never crossed my mind. It's weird. But anyway, so when other people say things to me, I just assume they're being upfront and totally truthful. And that's a thing I have to work on being skeptical about, because I could get taken advantage of pretty easy. This guy was super nice, and I just assumed he was genuine because of that. And during the interview, he was asked questions like, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years, the stereotypical job interview questions. And I was talking about, like, oh, I want to go into writing, and I want to go into making videos and films, and I want to go into creating books and maybe start my own business. And I was going into all of that. And he's like, great, yeah. And then he was like, well, we're looking for a leader in this company. We're looking for someone that we can promote to management within 4 months. And I was like, okay, because I was like, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but, like, okay. The thing that makes me feel so stupid about this is that never once did I stop to be like, you know what? I should just ask straight up, like, what will a typical day in my schedule look like? Like, what? But at this point, I was so new to this that I was, like, nervous to talk out of turn. And this is a whole other thing I could make a video on, which is that employees are so taken advantage of by this job market and feeling the need to bend over backwards to impress any potential employer and are at an employer's every whim. And, like, it is so fucked up. But basically, at the time, I was, like, too scared to ask those things. So I was just kind of sitting there like, okay. I didn't think to ask when I arrive each morning, you know, what will my daily duties be? What type of, like, you said that this is in advertising and PR, like, will you be handing me accounts to, like, do business to business relations with? Like, what specifically will I be doing? And he never brought it up, because as it turns out, what you'll be doing is shady. He asked me, are you someone that you would feel comfortable being promoted to management within 4 months? And I was like, yeah, I guess. It's like, why not? Sure, whatever you want. And I didn't realize at the time that this was that whole entry-level management thing we talk about in these MLM type of companies, where it's like, these people above you want you to get promoted fast and move up fast because they want you to have people under you. So promoted to management in 4 months is code for, I want you to have people under you. But I didn't know that, and he didn't specify that. I didn't know it until at the end of the interview. So he was like, all right, you did a fantastic job. We would love to bring you in for a second round interview. And I was like, excellent. I'd love to do a second round interview. And I figured there I'd get a clearer idea, because he said your second round interview is going to be, you are going to do a group interview where we're going to look at a day in the life of someone doing this job. I was like, great, I will come back in for the second round interview. So we scheduled the second round interview for 2 days later. I thought that was pretty quick, but I was like, whatever, I'll do it. So I went home, and then the next day I did my Skype interview for the other job I was going for, and I did a shitty job on that interview. But after I did a shitty job, I was like, well, on the bright side, I do have a second round interview at this other company, so maybe this will work out. And so I was feeling kind of good about it. And then as I was getting, like, starting to get ready for it, and I was still kind of like, I don't really know how to feel about this job, but I guess I should go to the second round interview, because what if it works out? Like, who knows? My mom called me, like, shout out to my mom. She is always the best. My mom called me and was like, Savvy, have you looked up Glassdoor reviews for this company? And I was like, you know what? I forgot to do that, because a lot of times I would be doing that, right? Glassdoor was like everyone's best friend in the job search. And she was like, you need to look up Glassdoor reviews for this company right now. So I did, and in a moment I'll show you what I found, but once I found that, I was like, God damn it. So I went into the kitchen and I made myself a cup of coffee full of Kahlua, and I sat at the kitchen table just drinking my coffee and Kahlua and being like, back on the motherfucking job search. And that interview that morning, I was like, well, that other job that I applied for that is actually a legit job is my best bet. So I was like going out of my way to try sending thank you notes to my interviewer, which didn't work. I didn't get that job, whatever. Right after I read these reviews, I called them up and I'm like, I am not right for this job. Actually, they weren't there at the time, so I left them a voicemail, and then the next morning they still called me and were like, are you ready to come in for your interview? And I was like, no, I told you yesterday, because I called them and emailed them. I was like, I don't want this job anymore. And they were like, oh, okay, bye. It was very awkward. Anyway, let's take a look at what these Glassdoor reviews for this company said, because this, looking back, this is hilarious to me. At the time, I was devastated because I was like, God damn it, I thought I had a chance at this job, and it turns out this job is just, like, dumb and sucks. And I didn't even know, like, the term MLM. Like, I knew what MLMs were to an extent. Like, I knew that I didn't want to sell Mary Kay and I didn't want to sell Avon or things like that, but this wasn't one of those. I hadn't heard of this kind of thing before, so I didn't even know what to call this. Oh, and by the way, side note, if along the way, like not in this video, if you guys want future videos about weird story times of the other strange jobs that I've had along the way, let me know in the comments below. I, at one point, at the peak of everything, I had 7 jobs and went to school at the same time. That was fall of 2017, and it was the same time I was getting married. So I have some wild millions of job stories, just in case you're watching this being like, wow, SAVY was really shit at the job search. Like, no, I got much better at the job search as time went on, and I ended up getting too many jobs and not being able to say no to any of them. Anyway, let's take a look at this dumbass job and their reviews. All right, so here we've got this company, Cooper Concepts. I should have known from that name alone that this company was going to be bullshit. What kind of name for a company is that? Anyway, let's go on. It says, this is all in present tense, but in reality, like, this is in, this should be in past tense, because this company I don't think exists anymore. Cooper Concepts is a rapidly growing marketing and sales firm located in the heart of the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. Heart of the Lincoln Park neighborhood. Maybe it's located in like the left testicle of the Lincoln Park neighborhood. Representing some of the world's largest brands in the telecommunications and energy industries, we guarantee our clients 3 things. 1, the most professional representation of their brand. 2, the highest return on their investment. And 3, a work environment for our team members that fosters professional growth in a marketing and sales environment. Okay, see, listen, this is the company culture bullshit, right? We guarantee our clients 3 things. These should all be things you can do for your clients, but because they don't care about clients, they care about recruitment. Work environment for our team members. Clients, for the most part, aren't going to care. Like, obviously, a client isn't going to want to buy from a company that's, like, abusing their employees, which this one technically was, so anyway. And then here we go, more company culture bullshit. Cooper Concepts focuses on personal development, entrepreneurship. I wasn't joining another company to be an entrepreneur. I was joining another company to be an employee. That's some shit right there. Community involvement, bring a new meaning to work-life balance. God damn, I wish I'd read this shit before I went to it. But also, this would have gone over my head back then because I wasn't used to looking at jobs with a critical eye like I am now that I'm so invested in the anti-MLM world and so invested in owning a small business and being in the business world. I had no education in this at the time. Advancement is an integral part of our culture and is solely based on result generated. That whole, like, merit-based increase bullshit, that's about, like, you have sales quotas. If you don't meet them, you're going to be in trouble. All right, let's take a look at some of the reviews. So they have a 3-star average. A lot of times if you, like, this is not an always true thing, but a lot of times you can tell when a company has a 3-star average, if they have a lot of 2- and 4-star reviews, they're often going to be more legit than a company with a lot of 1- and 5-star reviews. Because if that 3-star average came from 1- and 5-star reviews, it generally means, like, there's some people who are high up in the company writing their own 5-star reviews to bolster the rating. Meanwhile, there are people writing 1-star reviews who feel scammed. That's not a hard and fast rule. I've just found that to be a helpful indicator. So, like, this is all, like, great building blocks. This is that whole thing right? And then they have this whole, they do the whole MLM guilt trip thing, right? Like when they say work hard, play hard, they mean work hard. Now that doesn't seem like a con for everyone, because with that it was fun and everyone got recognized for their results too. So basically the whole thing with like, this job isn't for you if you're not a super hard worker. If you're going to be lazy, it's your own fault if you don't find success. It's that whole MLM mindset, which I wasn't looking for. If I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to do it with my own products. I wasn't looking to be an entrepreneur, that's in air quotes because it's not really is, for someone else's company. That doesn't even make sense. So the second review, scam! Here we go. The people you're working with are very nice. That's what I found too, but I find that that's generally as a way to rope you in. Anyway, I'm embarrassed to say I worked here for a little over a month, walking door to door, trying to sell discounted T-Mobile service to business owners. I put in 160 hours worth of work, lost a lot of weight and toned my muscles, but I didn't get paid. This place caused me to go through all my savings and have to move back home. Do not take this job. So that's what it comes down to, right? This is 100% commission-based sales job where you're supposed to have a downline. So I guess it's slightly better than some MLMs in the sense that you don't have to pay to join, but it's a company where you're making money solely on commission. You're forced to be selling constantly and emotionally pressured in the way that an MLM would pressure you to target every single person. And you also have a group of people below you. So this is nuts. This is crazy. So when I was at the interviewer guy had actually mentioned that they were working with T-Mobile, but they said, you know, we do a lot of work with T-Mobile. They said, are you interested in working on advertising campaigns for Fortune 500 companies? And basically at the time I was like, yeah, sure. But when they said, oh, we're doing a lot of marketing work for a campaign with T-Mobile, what they meant was they were getting people to sell T-Mobile services as a door-to-door salesman. This is like the Kirby vacuum thing, right? This is basically the door-to-door vacuum salesman MLM from like the 50s. That's what this was. So let's read more of these. This company lies. Pros, none. I have never had a more miserable experiences with a company. Do not apply unless you want to work for a manipulative company. This company implies that they're offering an internship in the first interview that will actually be paid. Then they offer a second interview where they keep you hostage and drive you away from the company, admit this is a commission-only position, and won't let you leave. See, when I read some of these, I was glad that I never went back for the second round interview, because I'm reading things about the second round interview, and it was people being like, they said you're going to get on the job experience, but what they do is they put you in a car, drive you to the middle of nowhere, have you get out of the car and start door-to-door selling along with someone else, but they get the commission. You don't get commission because you're being interviewed. So they're just getting your free labor. So that's what they do, and they drive you like way out, like an hour away, so that you don't know how to get back home, or you don't have your car if you drove. And like, I take public transit all the time, so maybe I would have found a way to run away, but like, that's fucking scary. Like, that's like kidnapping scary. But apparently, this is not the only company that does this either. The one I talked about in my career builder video that I did, Chicago Marketing, I think does this kind of thing too. Second interview was shadowing an employee as he went door to door. Not kidding. So this person says, currently I cannot name any pros to this company. It is too small and too shady to be considered a legitimate place to work. Cons, the office is a dump, the ceiling was leaking, the company is a scam. That's like, that could be like a 3-sentence story, right? The office is a dump, the ceiling was leaking, the company is a scam. I like that. I feel like there's a rhythm to it. Like, that could be a slam poem or something. Don't waste your time. I met the employer who was interviewing me with another potential employee. We drove 20 minutes to his property and he went door to door trying to sell. I felt embarrassed. Here I am dressed in a suit and tie getting rained on. Do not waste your time with this company. And then advice to management, start being honest with potential employees. They won't tell you what you're doing because no one will come. Please don't fall into this trap. You can find a much better company to invest yourself in. Then we've got some more of these fluffy 5-star reviews. The cons, lack of life and work balance. Wait, didn't it say, like, on their page that one of their things they promote for their employees is a good... No, I think they said a new look on work-life balance, which means you'll have none. It was shady. Wasn't clear on job requirements. That's pretty regular. Scam, be aware and stay away. This place is a complete scam and should be avoided at all costs. I don't know if they're writing reviews for themselves or what, but this is a pyramid scheme, and it is bizarrely cult-like. They recruit like crazy because no one will stay at a place that has you soliciting door-to-door, claiming that you are offering businesses a company discount to switch service providers, when in reality you are doing unsolicited sales, which, by the way, are illegal in most places. This place is a joke. Avoid at all costs. This is the same thing with me. I was hired under the impression that I was going to be doing inside business to business sales. Wrong. I was hired to do canvassing. I was so embarrassed to quit my job for this. Avoid at all costs. So I want to talk a little bit about how this person said it was bizarrely cult-like, because that's a thing that I started to notice after having read through these reviews 5 years ago, and after having gone to this interview and coming home and feeling so defeated. I think that's when I actually found the anti-MLM movement for the first time. Like, I got super invested, you know, after 2017 when I had started Forever Home Friends and when I was really getting frustrated with MLMs being at craft fairs. But I think the reason that I was frustrated with these companies being there was because I didn't like these companies. And the reason I didn't like these companies was because this interview was the set off to me that there was a predatory thing going on here. And then the predatory nature just kept going and going and going, and I just learned more and more and completely got invested in this community to warn people not to do it. So I have never been involved in an MLM, and I know that that means that a lot of people might not take my opinion on it as much as someone who has been involved in one, but this experience really did help me find that community, because it was after reading these reviews and then reading up on companies like this online. I got really invested in reading that kind of thing. And then from there, I started reading about like straight up pyramid schemes. I started reading about some of the common MLM companies, you know, like Avon, Beachbody, Mary Kay, those kind of things. I started reading up about those and realizing that this was even more prevalent. It wasn't just these scams on Career Builder. There was this whole other MLM world. And it really started to like grate on me, and I was like, this is wrong. We need to let people know about this. But I want to talk about how they said it was bizarrely cult-like. So when I had been on their website, which I wish I could show you, but it doesn't exist anymore, they had a video there, you know, that was like, this is what company culture is like. Kind of like when I showed you in the Chicago marketing one. They had blog posts with photos of them doing fun things together. They showed the company like in their morning meeting where they would stand around in a circle and do like claps, kind of like the when I showed you the reaction to the Beachbody call video, like in that video where they would do those like breathing exercises and stuff, and in reality it was supposed to just get your heart pumped up and like your heart rate going and your blood pumping. They would do things like that, and in my mind, I at that time, I'm still a very extroverted and high energy person, but my OCD medication has kind of dropped my energy level a lot. But back when I was in my early 20s, like, you could not contain me. This energy was through the roof at all times. So seeing a job environment where I could be standing up and dancing around and clapping and being loud, like, that excited me. I was actually roped in by that because I am not good at sitting still. And I was like, I need to do this. I didn't realize that those were cult-like things at the time until I read that that was used as kind of a way to, you know, build a sense of trust, to, you know, get your body invested in it and get your mind invested in it and that kind of thing. I like this one. Success. Ha! Games are fun, team nights are fun, and the meetings are good. Other than that, no one cares about anyone there. No matter what they say, there is no base salary. All right, that's another red flag for a job. If you're going to be employed by someone else and there is no base salary, run. It is door-to-door, commission 100%. If you ask for a base salary, they either won't hire you or put you on that for a week, then put you back on commission. They are real crooks. They're liars and phonies. People barely make it there to own their own company. I think that's one of the things. I never got them saying to me, own your own company, but I think that's one of the things that if you're in the company for a while, they would say like, oh, you can own your own company that sells these things, recruit people under you. And it was the same MLM lie of sell, you know, have your own business, be your own boss babe, that kind of thing. But this was actually, I think, more men than women was the difference. this wasn't targeting women. This was just kind of targeting everyone. There is no base salary, despite telling me on the phone that the base starts at 40 to 80 grand. Flagrant lie. Yeah, so that happens a lot. They'll say our commission, and we saw that on Career Builder in the past too. These companies will say our base salary range is 40 to 80,000 a year, depending how well you do. And some sales jobs, right, they will give you like a 40,000 a year base, but then if you earn commission, you could get more money on top of that. So that's what that's reflecting. This kind of company was kind of co-opting that range, but in reality, they're like, oh, you could make anywhere within that range, but only if you sell. So that's wild. The door-to-door sales model is outdated. It doesn't work anymore. You're trying to sell things to people who don't want to hear the pitch and couldn't afford the product if they did. It's terrible. Not to mention the employees I went out with to shadow on their day refused to tell me what you get from each sale. It was absurdly deceptive. And after 7 hours and countless miles walked, they didn't get a single sale and got kicked out of virtually every place we went to. This company plays the numbers game, and you're the number. If you get a sale, they win. If you don't, it doesn't cost them any money as you're on 100% commission, but also you don't get to eat that day. Don't waste your time. Stay home and watch the Maury Show. Oh my god. And then this is like the company owner being like, we do offer base pay, I swear, despite everyone saying they don't. This is the thing too. We spent only 2 hours in the office. So when people were talking about how shitty the office environment was, like my instinct that this office was weird when I went there turned out to be true. If you like high fives and screaming in an office space, that may be a pro. And see, at the time, I considered that a pro. Because I was just like, I was unmedicated and I was so insanely extroverted that like I needed to feed off of other people's energy at all times. Otherwise, I risked slipping into like an OCD manic or depressive induced episode. I hope I'm using all that language right. But this was when I was unmedicated and hadn't been to therapy yet and all of that. So that kind of thing, I would like read that kind of thing on job descriptions and ignore everything else because I'd be like, yes, I need that kind of environment. And that's just, no, 100% commission, door-to-door, pyramid structure, revolving door, hiring and turnover. I prefer working 5 days a week. They called for a Monday to Saturday schedule. Not a professional working environment. Seemed like they hire anyone. And that's the thing. They make you sound like, hey, we were so impressed with your resume. We were so impressed with your experience. And to me, I thought they really were because honestly, coming out of college, I felt like I had some really great work experience. I'd had multiple part-time jobs. You know, I'd had a lot of experience where I had a big portfolio of like communications type work I had done. So I thought someone really had been interested in me, but it turns out no, this was a stupid numbers game. They tell you it's easy to get promoted. It's not. You have to convince 5 people to move across the country with you, and they individually have to make $500 a week for 2 weeks in a row. So this is where the MLM part comes in, right? Like this, I never even got to this part. And I think a lot of people who reviewed this didn't either. They were just like reviewing it being like, oh, this was door-to-door sales. I hated it. I noped the fuck out after a couple days. But then I guess if you stay in, you get to this part where they're like, to get your promotion, to get promoted to management, you have to recruit 5 people, and those 5 people have to make $500 a week for 2 weeks in a row, otherwise you lose your rank. That's what an MLM is, friends. They say you make $1,000 as assistant manager salary a week, but you don't actually see that money. It goes into savings to open up your own company. But don't worry, you won't ever get to open up your own company because you will need people to come with you, and they never do. They lie to you saying it takes people only a few months to become a manager. It's not true. I actually want to talk about this point really quick. The whole they switched to another company thing. So a few years after I had gone to this job interview and forgotten about it, when I was browsing through job postings, I saw a posting for a job that sounded similar to this, where it had the name of the guy who interviewed me, but not the name of the owner of this company. It had the name of the guy who interviewed me as their CEO, and it was in a different part of Chicago, and it had a different name. So I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And that's what they're talking about is I think that guy at that point was like, okay, now it's my time to open my own company. And he had recruited people and even started his own office for this. So that's kind of what's going on here. That's wild. I was like, whoa, because he had also taken that pretty receptionist that I talked about into his company, and he was no longer mentioned at all on this company's website, but I don't think either of those sites even exist anymore. Oh, wait, they've got MLM conference stuff. You spend 2 hours in the morning playing stupid games and hearing the same speech you've heard over and over again, unpaid and unnecessary waste of time. If you go to any of the conferences or other offices, you will hear the same speeches by the owners there as well. Basically, all this says, that they don't know how to run their company. They will just give you motivational speeches to make you want to do your job that day. So what I was wondering, and this is speculation, I don't know this for sure, I have to do more research, is this thing, Smart Circle. I wonder if this company was part of Smart Circle, if the owner of this company had been part of Smart Circle, and then this was her branching off to form her own company from it, and then the guy who interviewed me, who was below her in the pyramid, then branched off to form his own company out of it. But if you follow the pyramid all the way back to the top, it would be Smart Circle. I don't know if that's true, but I've had a few people request that I do a video on Smart Circle, and I've watched a few documentaries on Smart Circle in the past, and the more I hear about it, the more it sounds like that might be what this is. So I am going to be doing some research on Smart Circle, and if you guys want a Smart Circle video in the future, please let me know, because I will gladly do that. But everything about this and the way that things work, oh, they sell DirecTV, it looks like. We sold T-Mobile. I think this is all part of the same thing. So that is the story of the time I accidentally went to an MLM job interview and then afterwards fell down the rabbit hole, found the anti-MLM community, and the rest is history. What did you guys think of this video? Please let me know in the comments below. Please let me know if you'd like me to do a video on Smart Circle, because I really am interested in doing more research into that. If you know anyone who is actually involved or worked for Smart Circle or one of its, you know, downline companies, please let me know, and I'd love to do an interview with someone. I think that would be really, really informative and interesting. So if you watching this have been involved in it and you want to do an interview, comment, DM me, all my information's in the description below, whatever you want. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you guys again soon, but in the meantime, don't forget to support legitimate, actual, small businesses with no upline and no downline and no fee to join and no 100% commission bullshit. Don't forget to support actual small businesses. Bye, everyone.